All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all glory, all praises, and definitely all the honor unto Yahweh, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Bakakorash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who definitely rule and teach well. And the mighty Shalom to the whole elect. And the sincere Akim, the few Aquas that's out there, listen to learn it. Listen and learn it to you. I say Shalom. This is your brother Yerah from the Great Millstone branch. The Gary and the Anacam coming at you another lesson. Of course, through the spirit and power. Slakia, but Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. Slakia. And I want to open up with this Proverbs 30 and 7. The point is in 8. Going to the subject matter of vanity. And how, I was, just doing some meditation. And just, self-reflecting like something I've been trying to practice lately. Right before I go to bed, just meditate on the day and, just meditate on, myself and, what I learned, being out and about in this world. Because believe it or not, we here to learn and to train to become kings, Lord willing to be of the elect. But, I'm just out and about, happened, to go to the gym earlier today and just, you sit there and you observe, human behavior. And one thing I noticed, not just today, but just, especially you coming to this truth, throughout the years, especially here in Babylon, people are fucking vain, man. You know, people just vain and in their mindset, and you can see how through the behavior of the people. And before I even get this, let's get the word for vanity. It says vanite or vanity. It says that which is vain, futile. Just to see what the word for futile. First, we'll get the word for vain. It says having no value or importance, idle, unprofitable, fruitless, producing no good resorts, worthless, void, invalid, feeble, conceited. Let's look for that word for conceited real quick. And I'm going through the spirit. Come on, what the hell? Define. Shit. Conceited is an adjective meaning excessively proud of oneself with an exaggerated sense of one's own ability, appearance, and importance. It said is often used negatively to describe someone who lacks humility, is self-satisfied, and may be considered arrogant or vain. And we see that a lot, especially here in Babylon. It says excessive pride, lack of humility, negative connotations. It says they overly favor opinions of themselves. Conceited individuals also display an inflated sense of their own worth. The term typically carries a critical and disapproving tone. And we here in Babylon, I just did a lesson going to, earlier yesterday, going to our Esau is the epitome of narcissists, and as the king saw the people, and when you look at these people, especially our people, these people are fucking vain, man. They think too highly of themselves. Not just men, but even these women. You look at these women, they're definitely fucking conceited and proud, man. And a lot of that have to do with Babylon, man. As we live in a society, that uplifts the woman. A very effeminate society. You see that spirit runs rampant, man. But anyway, back to this word vanity. It says that which is vain, futile, worthless, self-conceit, futility, lack of resolve, emptiness, aimlessness, figuratively, vainglory, foolish pride. And you see that a lot, man. You know, and this is a spirit that we ourselves in the faith have to watch out for, that we're not guilty of. You know, being proud, being vain in your mindset, seeking vainglory. We are not to be in that spirit. In fact, we're supposed to be in the complete opposite. Operating the spirit of humility. But anyway, close out on that. Flip this up. Type in the chat, GPT said, why are people so vain? It says that's a powerful question, and the one that touches both psychologically and spiritually. People are often vain because of a mix of insecurity, pride, and cultural influence. Let's look up this word for insecurity real quick. Like this. And it says, insecurity, state of being unsafe, also lack of assurance and confidence. Unsafe, not fully assured, not free from fear or doubt. Go back real quick. In the AI overview, it says the root of security lies in a deep-seated fear of not being good enough, which stems from negative belief about oneself, often developed from early childhood experience such as bullying, neglect, criticism, trauma, rejection. And when you look at here in Babylon, a lot of people, are insecure because of the traumas that they face, during childhood, and they haven't never got over it. And, these people grow up and they go out about society and, they never was able to resolve whatever trauma or things they went through. And now they out and about, projecting that pain onto others. What is at your workplace, your relationships. You see this shit run rampant, man. These experiences can damage self-esteem and create fundamental beliefs that one true self is inadequate. Leads to feelings of fear, inadequacy, and in comparison to others. And you see that a lot. People comparing their lives to others, not being content. Not being satisfied with what how the Lord created them. Because everybody, even within the body, we all have one mind when it comes to Yahweh Shem Shah, but we all unique in our own ways. No one brother is not like is completely like the other. Now we may have some brothers may have common interests in one, but every brother is unique within his own way. But we live in a society where people constantly trying to compare themselves, and that mindset is of the world. It says common origins of insecurity, childhood experiences, trauma and betrayal. And then you can see this, which I'm not going to get too much on it for the sake of time, but yeah, man, and that's the root cause of why a lot of these people are vain, man, because they're using that to try to mask, the emptiness that they feel within inside, man. Hell, you see that even amongst Israel, certain guys, they got these, like the elders, the apostles like to call, that cult of personality. They doing things just to be seen, because reality, they empty, man. A lot of people hide and mask themselves behind social media, their money, their status. And that's why Jacob's trouble is so beautiful. As crazy as it sounds, because when all these goodies and things are snatched away from these, you're not gonna be able to, you're not gonna be able to hide behind these things. You have to face the reality of who you really are. And to be honest, a lot of people are pieces of shit, man. Not to say that we don't have, us that's in the faith, and we have problems and traumas too. But the difference between us and them, that we're facing our issues. We ask the Lord to help heal us. The scriptures speak about real quick, while it's on my mind. I'm gonna come back to that. And I'm just going through the spirit. I'm just letting the spirit lead. Straight to the point. John 3:19. This is the condemnation, that light is coming to the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. And men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds are evil. For everyone that cometh to the light, everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest their deeds be reproved. And people are so deep into their darkness that they don't want to come to the light, which is just truth, to be corrected. Because why? All their deeds are going to be exposed. They're going to be exposed for who they really are. Or, they pretty much their flaws is going to be exposed. I say that. A lot of people like to mask their flaws behind what? Their money, their status, their relationships, which when in the days to come, none of these things are going to matter. You're going to have to be faced to who the hell you really are. And if you haven't been building a relationship with Yahweh Shem Shai, you're going to be through. That's why, forgiveness is one of the most important things you should do. Because a lot of these people, they haven't, whatever trauma or people that have done things to them, they haven't learned to let that shit go. So they harvest that bitterness, they harvest that pain, and then they go out about in the world and harm others. But at the same time, they themselves seeking forgiveness and mercy, man. This is the world we live in. And these people, like I said, they work at our jobs. They work at these different places that we have to go. Like, they have the BMV, they're police officers, doctors, husbands, wives, man. And that's why we need to get the hell up out of here, man. But verse 21, but he that doeth truth cometh to the light, that his deeds may be manifest, that they are wrought in the Most High. So that he that comes to light, he's going to come. He's going to admit that he's sick. See, we all have trauma, including myself, man. But the difference, like once again, the difference between the men of the Lord and you women that believe, then these people that's out here in this world in this vain mindset, we can admit that we have flaws. We can admit that we sick. Hell, we're tired of being sick. We want to be healed. And that takes true power. That takes strength to look yourself in the mirror, to admit I'm fucked up and I need help. Most people, can't do that. So what they do, they hide themselves and they mask themselves behind their image, and at the same time condemn others, condemn those that's actually trying to get right. Hey, the scribes and Pharisees was like that. They put on the barter, the phylacteries and all that. They was very vain and conceited. That's why the scriptures say what? He called their ass open sepulchres. Hold on, I don't know. Let's do it like this. Hopefully it'll pop up. What the hell? It's gonna pop up. Through the Spirit, it's gonna pop up. Yeah. Yeah. Matthew 23 and 25. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you may clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. It says, thou blind Pharisees, clean first that which is within the cup and the platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. It says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like the whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but are within full of dead men's bones, and of all uncleanness. Even so ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. You see that a lot, society, man. These people, they put on this front like they're this holier than thou person. They so good and so, but really inwardly they're wicked, they're sick, and these same people like to expose others for their sins, for their flaws. You know, saying demonize others, but inwardly, they sick as hell. And then what they do, they project their hatreds onto others, man. And you see this a lot in society, man. Not just when it comes to this truth, you see in the Christian churches like that. These, they politics, you know. And the reason like that, hey, look at Esau. He's the master of that. He puts on this persona that he's this high moral guy, but really he's a empty nigga, man. You got a lot of people like that around us, man. You know. And then the ones of us that can humbly admit that we're sick and then putting forth the effort to try to get right, these people, try to condemn, man, or point out, look at this nigga, They was doing the same thing with Yahweh Shah, man. Yahweh Shah was hanging with the publicans in the city. Y'all, he hanging with them, This is the type of society we live in, man. And that's how we know we're at the wrong stage, man. But anyway, what I left off at, it's like if I'm a little bit all over the place. Come on, bro. It says common origins of insecurity, childhood experience, lack of acceptance, or experience of abuse, neglect, or constant criticism in childhood can plant seeds of insecurity that persist into adulthood. It says trauma and betrayal, past traumas, betrayals, and significant affairs can lead to negative self-beliefs, such as feeling damaged, incompetent, or unworthy of love. And you see that a lot, man. Especially a lot of these women. A lot of these women are fucked up. A lot of them have been, molested, touched on. So they go out, in the world, the uncle or cousin or somebody touched them on or did some crazy shit to them. So they go out in the world and they just got this evil eye towards every nigga. They judge every nigga, well, I don't say every man based off that one grimy or couple grimy niggas that they encounter. Instead of learning to forgive them and to move on, which, it's easier said than done, but they go out and they project that hurt onto others, man. And that's why I said earlier, man, the importance of forgiveness, man. Because when you forgive, you set yourself free of that bitterness. And understand that all these things happen ultimately because the Lord allowed it to happen. Because all of us have some form of trauma, man. Some worse than others. But that don't give you the green light to go out and just hurt others, man. No. Or you walking around, trying to mask it, or and you see it a lot, man. But anyway, I want to get back to this. Once again, I asked, why are people so vain? I said that's a powerful question, and one that touches both physically, psychologically, and spiritually. It says, hold on. It says people are often vain because of a mix of insecurity, pride, and cultural influence. Here's a breakdown of why. Insecurity at the root. Many people act vain to cover feelings of inadequacy, which we just went into that, man. They seek validation through appearance, status, or attention because deep down, they don't feel enough without it, man. You see that a lot, man. And as you can see again, James 3:16, which let's get there real quick. You see that definitely here, with the rise of social media, the Lord, he likes authenticity, being authentic, That's why I like that movie Shrek, man. If you I'm not gonna go too much into that, but watch that movie. It shows how people are, man. If you can understand the movie from a psychological mindset, But anyway, James 3 and 16. Matter of fact, let's read this in NLT. James 3:13. It says, if you are wise and understands the Most High ways, prove it by living an honorable life, doing good works with humility. That comes from wisdom. Being humble, man, doing works with humility, being meek, not trying to do to be seen and all that shit. No, man. It says, but if you are bitterly jealous and there is selfish ambitions in your heart, don't cover up the truth by boasting. Don't cover up the truth with boasting and lying. For jealousy and selfishness are not, it says, are not the most highest kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. Damn. It says, for wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambitions, there will you find disorder and every, it says, an evil of every kind. You see that a lot in society, man. And the Lord has called us from the world. We can't bring that mindset into the truth. It says John 3:16. I don't know what version this is. It says, for where envy and self-seeking is, this confusion and every evil thing are there, man. You see that a lot, man. Even within people's household, a bunch of confusion, man. Let the Lord say He's not the author of confusion, man. The Lord's about peace and order. But we live in a society where we got a bunch of broken people, man. It says pride, and point 2, it says pride and fallen nature. From a biblical perspective, vanity is tied to the sin of pride, wanting to glorify oneself rather than the Most High. Pride was led to Lucifer to fall, and when this Lucifer is talking about, Esau, the illuminated ones, the powers that be. Not no goddamn, Satan up there playing the piano and got kicked out of heavens. No, man. That Lucifer right here is speaking of the king of Babylon, who's the modern day king of Babylon? Esau, and he's the epitome of pride. And that's why the Lord says this real quick in the book of Isaiah. And that's why destruction is coming to this place. And that's why before destruction, Jacob's trouble has to happen. Because people that hide themselves behind all these, and it's beautiful that we're seeing this system collapse. A lot of people that are losing these government jobs. Because I worked, been in Esau's military and had to encounter certain people that have these different government positions. These people are proud as all hell. A lot of them are empty assholes, man. So we wait and see when all that, your status, your positions, and who you hide yourself behind, when that shit snatched away, you have to be faced with the reality of who you are. Oh, man. And that's one thing people hate, man. They hate that's why a lot of people, these people, they got to be around other people. They got to, because they hate, because when they're alone, they got to be faced with this, with themselves. And a lot of people hate themselves, man. They can't look themselves in the mirror. And that's why they hate those that represents righteousness, because that light, when they see us, it's like they see that mirror, they hate it. So what they try to do, destroy that light, man. That's why I quoted it, men love darkness rather than light. And we, Lord willing, the hopefully elect, we're the light bearers, the true light bearers, the true Lucifer, the true Illuminati. So when they see us, man, that's why you ever go in a room with people and you just chilling, quiet, observing. You could feel the energy shift in the room where you at a job, because people are the demons on them. They're very uncomfortable. You see, you be at lunch break with you, at your work, and they see you eating a little healthy, and here they over there. They don't like to be around people because it forces like, damn, or they see you fit, you around some fat slop. You know what I'm saying? Because why? He feels he feels like he's inadequate. It's the world we live in. Whereas you may have other people that may see it, and it may inspire them. They may ask, how you get there, and you tell them, I was once there, and then it inspired them. But the wicked motherfucker, he gonna flee like fuck that, and he's gonna try to tarnish you, But anyway, this is Isaiah 2 and 12. And I pray that you get what I'm coming from. Isaiah 2 and 12. It says, "For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low." So everyone that's lifted up, starting from Esau down to you common people, you heathens and you 2/3, man, you're gonna be brought low. Scripture speak about why is earth and ash is proud. Because I'm in the gym today, this is how fucked up Babylon is too. You got the dual gender sauna. So you end up with men and women, and the women coming, especially that gym coaches are big in vanity. People are vain. They come in, saying got the tight fucking shirts. The dudes got to walk around with their shirt off so everybody can see, because it's just vain, man. Just go in, work the fuck out, and get the hell up out of here, But hey, this is Babylon. This is Rome. And we got to be careful that spirit don't rub off on us, man. Because it easily can, man. You can start becoming, but hey, the Lord, if we be the elect, the Lord have his ways of keeping us humble. And that's something you should always pray, that the Lord keep you humble and meek, and that you don't be tainted, with the mindset of the world. In fact, you should be asking the Lord to purge you from the world, man. I'm going to jump down. This says, Isaiah 2 and 17, matter of fact, I'm going to read this in the NLT. It says, "Human pride will be humble, and human arrogance will be brought down. Only the Lord will be exalted on that day of judgment," man. And idols will completely disappear, and people have made themselves to become idols. Hell, it tends to turn the American Idol, And a lot of that have to do with that is what Esau, his propaganda machine, his media. That also adds to the insecurity when the American dream. The American dream has got people, one day I can make it. I can be praised. I can be just like the celebrities, and not knowing all these celebrities, they hide behind their celebrity status, but a lot of them empty and void as well too. Miserable, because why? In order for them to get that status or whatever position or movie role that they may get, or fucking championship trophy, they have to do some degrading things, man. The good example of that movie, Him. These people that they throw in your face, parade your face, these celebrities, these so-called people, quote unquote, with worldly success, a lot of them have to do degrading acts to get that. But they hide behind these titles, these positions, and but reality, they fucking empty. They miserable, they're vain. Look at Kim Kardashian. That's one vain bitch. Excuse my language. That's why Solomon says this real quick in Ecclesiastes 1 and 2. "Vanities of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanities of vanities. All is vanity." So all is vanity, man. You born, you live, you die. What the fuck? As you can see right there. Point 3, worldly influence. Society promotes self-centered living. Social media fame, material success, and the appearance are constantly glorified. You got what the fuck? The MTV Cribs. A good example. Look at this nigga LeBron. He's a perfect example of that. "I consider myself to be the GOAT." For those of us, that watch basketball, which I don't really watch that shit no more. That shit trash. It ain't like how, when we grew up. Even then it was rigged, but shit, it's even more. It's just garbage. Bunch of weird niggas just running and shooting threes. But anyway, hey, look at him, man. He's a prime example of that. How you gonna just proclaim yourself to be the GOAT? "Look at all my accomplishments. Look what I've done." Not knowing that man had to bend over or do some degrading things to get that. It says this condition people, and we live in society too, for people to get they use people, which it's because we live in a parasitical society. People are like parasites. They feed on people, they use motherfuckers to get up and get success. That crab in the barrel mindset. Taking credit for some shit that they know they have done, they didn't do. This is the world we live in, man. And that's why the men of the Lord are sighing and crying. That's why the scriptures say what? Ecclesiastes 1:17. I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this is also vexation of spirit. For in much wisdom is much greed, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. The more you know, the more grief you become, because you start to see the world for what it really is. You start to see people for what it really is. You can really read people's spirits. And then you get vexed at yourself because, hey, we in the flesh. Sometimes, these particular mindsets sneak up in us. But the difference is we have to check ourselves. That's why we got to constantly examine ourselves, man. Hell, as I'm doing this lesson, I'm getting cut just hoping that I don't have this type of mindset. I ask the Lord that I don't get caught up with this mindset, because we know the Lord's finna to do with people in this mindset. Real quick, let's get this in 1 John 3 and I always bring this up, but I like in the NLT. I said 1 John 3, 1 John 2. Like 1 John 2 and 15, it says, do not let the world, in the NLT, do not love this world nor the things it offers you. For when you love the world, you do not love, but you do not have the love of the Father in you. For the world only offers a craving for physical pleasures, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from this world. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave. But anyone who does what pleases the Most High will live forever, But the point was in the middle of verse 16. It says, and pride in our achievements and possession. People hide behind these things. And when they have these things, they look down upon others that don't have it. That's what this Western life promotes, man. Glamour, glitz. Look what I got. And that mindset overshadows what's really important. Love, family, the chief things of life. Appreciating small things. And that's why Jacob's trouble is so important, because these things that people overlook, when these things are snatched from them, they're going to be through. So to speak about, it's going to be one left in the sea. He's going to desire to see another and shall not see it. People take that for granted. The ability just to have a conversation with somebody. They asked one of them niggas that been in 15 years in solitary confinement, man. Them dudes would be looking for to just even have a conversation with, let alone anybody. See, people take things that and that's why we always gotta constantly, thank the Lord, man. And that's part of being content, man. Thanking the Lord for the small things, being grateful for small things, good health. Being able to sit back and laugh with a friend. Shit, laying on the pillow, being able to wash your ass. These things that people take for granted. Because why? They're chasing this fucking American dream. The American dream has blinded the people from what really matters. And that's really serving Yahweh Bashim Shine and everything that comes with it. We brought this out last week at camp. Let me get this. I believe in the book of Sirach. Mm-hmm. 34:1, it says, the hopes of a man void of understanding are vain and false. And these people are void of what? This truth. So that it is vain and false. You trust in some fucking American dream. One day I'm gonna make it. One day if I work hard, no, man. Chasing that damn dollar. Chasing that position. Because when you chase these, that's why I should say, there's nothing worse than a covetous man, for such as one sitteth his own soul. He cast away his bowels, man. Because why? You willing to compromise your integrity, your morals, and even hurt others to attain these things. And then when you get it, you still feel empty. And look at people who worship money, man. They'll do anything to do it. They'll hurt. They'll kill their own people just for some damn money, man. You know. It says a dream lift up fools. Whosoever regarded dreams is like him that catches at a shadow and follow after the wind. And the dream that people has regarded as this stupid ass American dream. If you work really hard, one day you're gonna get that house. And Christianity plays a huge role in that too. You put 10 in, the Lord's gonna know. You're not a Christian church pushing that, that bullshit prosperity gospel, man. You know? I'm gonna jump down to verse 7. It says, for dreams have deceived many, and they that have put their trust and they have failed that put their trust in them. So they have failed that put people you're gonna fail putting your trust in this American dream, man. This lie that this devil sold you, man. And a lot of your ass and a lot of you when these things, these goodies, these dainties, your position, your job, your career is snatched away, a lot of you gonna be crying to this devil to get it back, and you're gonna take that damn charagma, which is that micro C hip. Revelations 13 and 16, if you're unsure what we're talking about. But anyway, this is point 3. It says worldly influence. Society today promotes self-centered living. Social media fame, material success, and appearance are constantly glorified. This conditions people to measure worth by external standards rather than inward character or faith. You see? John 2 and 16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. But is of the world. You see that? That's why Yahweh said, what? Colossians lead 3. And 1 it says, if ye then be risen with a Mashiach, seek those things which are above, where Mashiach sitteth on the right hand of the Most High. Set your affections on things above, not on things of the earth. So you gotta set your affections on things above, not this fucking world. This carnal ass world, man, with these carnal ass people. You know? Our mindset is in the heavens, man. We want the mind of how to, of Yahweh Shem Shai, man. To hell with this fucking world. We hoping the Lord come back speedily to blow this bitch up, man. Just look at the world. Look at this world now, man. Look at how people are, man. Ain't no love. Motherfucking kid get kidnapped. People don't give a fuck. Excuse my language, I'm not trying not to, use hard, rude speech, but you get vexed, man, when you sit back and just meditate, man. That's why scripture says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, man. When because it's a form of oppression too, man, to live in a world like this, to be around people like that, people that don't give a damn about anything but their own selfish pride and ego and some damn money or the clout or status. That's how you know we at the end. It says point 4, it says fear of rejection. Vanity is often a defense mechanism. People fear being unseen or unloved, so they try to control how others see them through looks, possessions, or achievements. And you see that a lot, man. A lot of these people, they put on the front. A lot of you people are broke, poor, miserable. Shit, look at these women, man. They put the filters on the screen, and then when you really see how she live, you like, ugh. She don't even look nothing like how she looked on the screen, man. There's a movie I watching on Netflix called Pretty or something. Pretty much, when you reach the age of 16, you go to the city where pretty much you upgrade to where you're perfect. You got the perfect look and all that. And it was a girl, she had a friend, they was best friends, and she went to go try to see him, but You know, he prayed like he ain't even know her no more. You know, but you had a guy I forget the name of that damn movie, but it was a dude. It's kind of a spiritual movie. It's kind of cheesy, but it was spiritual because it was a guy by the name of David. They like, fuck that, we ain't going. They pretty much didn't go that route. They like, man, when they reached 16, they left. They just kind of escaped. They didn't go through that. Because they accepted who they really know, who the Lord created them to be. Yeah, we all got flaws, man. The Lord has made us all authentic. The Lord respects authenticity. Being authentic, which let's look up the word for being authentic. Authentic, authoritative, duly authorized, authentic. It says original, genuine principle, man. It says one acting on one's own authority. You know, a sense of real, entitled to acceptance of factual, man. You know, being authentic, man, being original. Lord respects all being authentic, man, not putting on a front. You know, put on the front of others like you just one way, but really you another way. Instead of just being who you are, man. You know, in righteousness, of course. You know, to the best of your ability. You fucking freaky niggas. Well, I'm being who I'm on. Like, nah, bro. You know, but you get the drift, man. You know, Lord respects authenticity. You know, not being a emulator. The scripture speak about, you know, that. Let's get that real quick. You know, emulation. You see a lot of people that too now, trying to, you know, emulating. Be your damn self, man. Galatians 5 and 19, it says, now these are the works of the flesh, which are it says, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations. It says wrath, sedition. It says wrath, strife, sedition, heresies. Let's look at the word for emulation real quick. It says emulation, ambition, or endeavor to equal, excel others as in achievements. You see that a lot, man. People are just in competition with one another. I gotta be better than him. I gotta be better than him. Yeah, you even got that in relationships, man. You got couples competing with one another. It's fucking sad, bro. You know? The effort, desire to equal, excel other, jealous rivalry. It says, yeah, you see that a lot, man. Even, like I say, even relationships. You got men, you know, the woman competing with the man. Or even vice, you know what I'm saying? Instead of, you know, just, you know, accepting each other's role and working together, people, you know, got that at the job, and that creates a toxic environment, man. Where people are constantly in competition with one another, man. Competing and shit, man. That's a, you know. Just gonna speak about that, man. Not doing that. Let's get that real quick, and I think it's in Philippians. Yeah, Philippians 2. Let's just let them pull it over here. I want to see what it say in the NLT. Yeah, Philippians 2, and yeah, start at 2. Matter if I start at 1. It says, if there be therefore any consolation of Mashiach, if any comfort and love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any bowels of mercy, fulfill ye my law, fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord and of one mind. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than themselves. And you see that especially in the so-called Black and Latino community, but especially amongst Judah, man, the Southern Kingdom. Jake just always trying to outshine one another. Meanwhile, y'all through, you know, y'all all destroyed, man. Let's read this NLT. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Look at me. Look what I'm doing, seeking, you know, validation. You know, and we have to remind ourselves not to be in that spirit, man. You know, just do the work, man. You know, be humble, man. Let the Lord exalt you, man. You know, it says be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look only on. It says verse 4. It says don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others. You must have the same attitude that Mashiach has had, man. And Mashiach Yahushua had, man. You know, this ain't no fucking competition thing, man. But you got that. That's of the world. That's the world. You know, it's crazy. You got that spirit in Israel, man. We gonna have to. Our Passover gonna be bigger than this. Like, who gives a fuck, man? Esau still finna roll. How are you having a bigger Passover? How that's gonna save you from the times to come? I know more precepts than you got. You know, that don't mean shit either, man. Because you could know it and yet don't apply none of them. You know, it ain't about that, man. You know. And once again, that's the mind of the world. That's being vain, man. Because it leads to nothing, man. What the fuck, you know? Verse 5, spiritual empty. Point 5, spiritual empties. When people lack connection with the Most High, they seek meaning through self. Vanity fills that void temporarily, but it never satisfies. It's like drinking salt water for thirst. Damn. Your ass constantly thirsty. You constantly chasing, yet your ass still, you know? You see people like that in society, man. They just constantly chasing a dollar, but never got shit. Never content. That's why the scriptures, I had to pull it up. I ain't even get it. Let's get to Proverbs 30 and 7. It says, 2 things I require of thee, deny me not them before I die. It says, remove from me vanity and lies, and give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me, lest I be full and deny thee, and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal, and take the name of the Lord in vain, the name of the Most High in vain. You know? You know? It says, accuse not thy servant unto his master, lest he curse thee, and thou be found guilty. You know, and the spirit, I was just saying that, you got people like that, man. They like, you know, trying to, you know what I'm saying, slander you at your job because they hate you. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get you fired and shit. As you can see, it says the employer. But hell, even, you know, you don't supposed to be in there speaking the truth, trying to, you know what I'm saying, brother, come to you confide, you trying to, you know, get him, you know, that shit wicked, bro. Trying to expose people's secrets so people can look at them a certain way. You got the scribes and Pharisees was doing that, man. Meanwhile, they doing hella shit behind closed doors. You know, you don't want to be in that spirit, bro. That's absolutely wicked, you know. The Lord, you expose your ass. You know? Remember, we all sick. We all fighting things. We all got things that, you know, we're ashamed of. But the difference, once again, the difference between those of us in the household of faith and those of these people in the world, where we can sincerely admit we sick and we come to the Lord to help heal us. Once again, a lot of us have trauma. A lot of us have, you know, things that have happened to us. That's why I said earlier, we have to learn to forgive and let go and not harvest that bitterness and move forward, man. You know? Because if you do, you're gonna start projecting that shit onto others. You're gonna start harming others. You know, and you're gonna just lose out, man. You're gonna crash out. You know? It says, would you like to me explain how to overcome vanity, how to deal with vain people? I say yes. It says overcoming vanity in yourself, because we always gotta remind ourselves not to be in that spirit either. And that's why we gotta constantly self-examine, you know? You know, because you can easily slip into that type of mindset. It says, remember who you belong to. When you truly know your worth, comes from the Most High, not from looks, likes, or approval. Vanity loses its grip. You know, as you see Psalms 139 and 14, you know, which I'm not going to get for the sake of time, but you can get that, you know, on your own. It says, practice humility. Humility is thinking less of yourself It said humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. Serving others, being thankful, and giving the Most High glory in everything replaces vanity with virtue. It says, humble yourself, James 4:10. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he shall lift you up. It says, fast from self-image. Try occasionally taking breaks from mirrors, social media, or self-promotion. Replace that focus with prayer and scripture reading. This trains your heart to find joy in being this trains your heart to find joy in being rather than appearing. Damn. Yeah, that's good. It says, seek inner beauty. The scriptures reminds us your beauty should, 1 Peter, let's get that. Because we can apply this to the woman, but we also, this is for the woman, but hey, we're not the woman, the Lord's woman, the church, you know? What's that, 3 and 4? Speaking of wives, but are we not the Lord's wife? Speaking of, the church. 1 Peter 3:3, whosoever doing, it says, whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold and of putting on apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, and that which is not corruptible, even an ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which in the sight of the Most High, of a great price. For after this matter in old times, holy women also who trust in the Most High adorn themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, called him the Lord, whose daughters ye are, and as long as you do well, and aren't afraid with any amazing. But the point was being in point 3 and 4, verse 3 and 4, man. Although this applies to women, but we can also in spirit apply to the church. Not getting caught up on the outward appearance, man. More so, beautifying your inward parts. And how you do that is through this word. It says, when your spirit is right, your peace and presence will shine more beautifully than anything external. It says, dealing with vain people around you, don't compete with them. Vain people often thrive on comparison. The best way to disarm that energy is to refuse to play the game. Stay grounded and calm. Your peace will expose their emptiness. Damn. It says, show compassion, not contempt. Many vain people are deeply insecure inside. Pity and pray for them rather than despising them. It says, guard your spirit. Set healthy boundaries. Don't let their exceptions with image or status infect your values. Surround yourself with people who build your soul, not just your ego. And that's the believers, man. And for us, that's on the front line. That's the brotherhood, And it says, lead by example. When you live with humility and contentment, you become a quiet light. Over time, even vain people notice there's something deeper about you. Peace they can't fake. Damn. So, you get the drift. And see if I got anything else I want to pull out. I just want to pull out that. Oh, I think I pretty much made my point, Yeah, man. So, today's video is edified through the spirit of power. Yahweh Shai. I'm going to give all glory, all praises, and honor to Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim, Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the others of the great millstone who definitely do well. And a mighty shalom to those who live in this society, push the truth throughout the four corners. Shalom, Kum Yashral, and the Bible ball.